Lions 34, Giants 27. The Giants lose their fifth fourth quarter lead of the season. It's the third game in a row where they had a fourth quarter lead and they lost. They also tied an NFL record with their fifth loss in games where they held a double-digit lead. They're 2-5 this season when leading by at least 10 points. They fall to 2-10, eliminated from the playoffs, and six straight losses. But most of all, happy birthday, Grump. Everyone in the chat sing happy birthday. Like and subscribe as a happy birthday to Grump. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Me and Tyrone Tracy. Also the anniversary of Jason Garrett getting fired and the Odell Beckham catch game.
Oh, big day. And so we did our pregame live stream, and you're like, big day, Tyrone Tracy birthday. And I was like, okay. And then Crank texted me afterwards, like, it's Grump's birthday today. I was like, and that's why he did the Tyrone Tracy birthday thing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. What a way to celebrate in true Giants fashion. I came into this game expecting a loss so that I shouldn't be too invested in this game. I can just take notes and be diligent. And instead, they pull me back in. So now I have no voice because I was screaming at the TV for this one. So this is typical of my birthday. So I should be used to this. It still hurts though.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Like you said, I'm not like I did scream my TV a few times, like Andrew Phillips when Jameer Gibbs was bobbing the ball and wanted him to like murder him.
Yes.
And then the end of the game. So let's talk about the end of the game, right? Because that's what's on everybody's mind is how this game lost, right? Like I had themes ready to go, right? Like Kafka, the run game and play action, trick plays, Wan'Dale Robinson, the Giants living in zone coverage. But the end of the game sequence goes like this, right? You have a 13-play, 86-yard drive that ends with 0 points, and you go for it on fourth down and don't get it. And then the Lions get the ball back with 3 minutes left, and you're like, all right, what is going to go on? What's going to happen here, right? Their first couple plays are very soft zone, and you get the 2-minute warning. I even tweeted out, I was like, I think Shane Bowen has called a fine game through this game, but we're looking very soft zone. And then I started charting after the 2-minute warning. Soft zone complete. Run play. Soft zone complete. Blitz complete. Zone incompletion. Blitz and then they got into field goal range. It went zone incompletion. Blitz 5-yard loss. Man incompletion. And then Javon Holland had a dumbass penalty. In the middle of there, the Lions have a 59-yard field goal, career high for Jake Bates. You go to overtime. Jameer Gibbs has a 69-yard rushing touchdown, and the Giants can't answer, and that's how it goes. Like you just knew that at some point they were going to figure out a way to lose this game. You really thought it was when they had another long rushing touchdown, and Jameis immediately throws an interception, but the Giants put him a 3-and-out, and then you thought you had a chance. But again, these have all been creative in their own way and all the same in the same way. But at the end of the day, they just are 6 straight losses, 2-10, and there's a lot of talk about Shane Bowen, right? And we'll eventually talk about the defensive game plan in this game and saying how it's not terrible. I do hate the end of game strategy. I do. I really do, especially when we're playing the Detroit Lions. Get aggressive against them. And when they got aggressive, they were able to hold them to a field goal where I think we all probably thought they were going to end up with 6 somehow. I have never been a big fan of Shane Bowen. I think he's been a little handcuffed over the last month and a half without Paulson Adebo and how bad they've been in secondary. But it just he's become a boogeyman where you fired Brian Daboll with the point of being there's more talent, right? They're getting these leads and they're losing them, right? The talent gets the lead, but the coaching loses the fourth quarter. It's like, all right, I'm willing to test out your theory, but you kept the defensive coordinator. This is a defensive coordinator issue. The offense has been solid this year overall with Brian Daboll, with Mike Kafka. Like the offense has not been a huge issue for the New York Giants. It hasn't been great every week, but it hasn't been a huge issue. And so you pin those fourth quarter losses on coaching, which is fair, but you kept the defensive coordinator, and now post Brian Daboll, you're 2 for 2, and it's the same damn talking points. Like I would like to know what exactly is leading to this. Is it the fact that their linebackers can't touch their running back? Is it because Dexter Lawrence wasn't on the field for that last touchdown? Is it because of soft zone? Like what is it because of? But I don't understand why they kept Shane Bowen. Maybe for 1 week I understand it, but like why do they continue to keep rolling him back out there? Like they're going to wait for the bye week and then have 4 games left?
Yeah, I mean it's puzzling in the moment thinking, right? When you're ready to part ways with Brian Dable, if you're going to be eliminating the problem, the what you perceive to be the problem, then eliminate the problem, right? Like
Right.
Brian Dable, in and of itself, deserves to be fired outside of Shane Bowen. They're separate. They're separate but equal. They're separate but equal culprits in the fourth quarter meltdowns. The in-game decision that puts them in that situation. So I agree. At this point, I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but it confuses the messaging, right? Like if you're trying to figure out if it is a personnel or coaching problem, which is sort of your off-season debate, right? Like you have to decide if you really are going forward with Joe Shane going forward. Is this a personnel problem, my team, or is it a coaching problem, my team? Then find out, right? Like that makes the most sense. So it's puzzling. But overall, as a fan, and I think what everybody's feeling right now as they're listening to this, not big picture, right now, this is just annoying. This is just, it's so frustrating that, and it's frustrating because I want to commend Shane Bowen for what is ultimately a 58-minute game plan that was pretty well executed. I mean, we were on the morning show, like our pregame preview, talking about like, oh my God, Deonte Banks might be the inactive. We're not sure yet. And it turns out to be, who are we lining up there? And we're having these in-depth conversations about Jarek Bernard Converse, Corey Black, and, who's going to line up alongside Cordell Flott, who, 12 weeks ago, we were wondering who Cordell Flott even was and how he fit into this roster. So, considering all of the hurdles that Shane Bowen had for 58 minutes, I thought did a damn good job to keep the Lions where they were. And then it's just frustrating because you go into overtime and Dexter Lawrence is now on the field, and that's a whole separate conversation. But it takes one play, and the Giants, you know what their answer was in overtime? To have to come back to a 7-point, like one play Jahmyr Gibbs run. Their answer is a 13-play drive with a backup quarterback and without the number one running back and without the number one wide receiver. So it's like, while I want to commend Shane Bowen, like the failures at the very end of the game that feel rudimentary, and we'll get into those conversations in terms of the coverages in the fourth quarter and the fourth quarter game plan, and then overtime not having Dex on the field. But like, it's just so frustrating. The handcuffs that Mike Kafka has on offense, and to put up such a little fight at the end is just, it's infuriating to watch.
Yeah, the defensive thing has become, like I said, I think Shane Bowen's become a boogeyman where I have not liked Shane Bowen ever since doing film streams of him, from with the Titans, right? And I was like, all right, but let's see what he's like on his own outside of Mike Vrabel. Didn't like it last year, didn't like it this year. And the end of game issues are certainly a lot on him, right? And I think it shows his identity, where he's a conservative defensive coordinator. He's very conservative. He's unimaginative, right? Whenever he does create stuff, it feels like it's reactionary to Spencer Rattler saying he's not creative, or fans and media saying that. Like it's never felt like a proactive. Like I think he's a bad defensive coordinator. And at the end of the games, you see it, right? Where it's like, we're not trying to go after them. We are simply like, please just don't let them get these yards. Tackle, rally, give them the catch, tackle, rally, and tackle. But at the same part of that is like, they had 3 gigantic runs, right? They had 2 different 49-yard runs, a 69-yard touchdown run. I know Dex wasn't on the field for the overtime one, but he was for the other ones. And you got the D-line, who's like not really having a great play. The linebackers on all 3 are just like, what are you doing? Where are you going? Getting Bobby Okereke getting swallowed up. The final one, Swayze Bozeman, is just like totally in the wrong place. The DB's playing it softly, whether it's missed tackles or not, beating any blocks. And then the deep safety just getting flat-footed, and Jahmyr Gibbs beating those guys to the corner. It's like, I actually thought this is going to sound always stupid, and it drives me nuts when people would justify the Giants' issues. Like, well, without the big runs are why they're bad. They held them to 17 carries for 70 yards, which still isn't great. It's 4 yards a pop. It was better in the first half, but like they just are a bad run defense, and I think it's more personnel based. Like obviously you could go all out to stop the run, but then you're leaving yourself very vulnerable to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, and they still can pop those runs. The Detroit Lions are that good in the run game, where it's like it is hard to be a good defense when you are 31st or dead last in run defense. And this has been 4 straight years of this, where it's just like you can never trust them to have a good run defensive game plan. You can really never do it unless they sell out against like a New Orleans Saints type team.
I actually don't know why the Lions didn't just run the ball down the Giants' throat in this game, because at no point did it feel like we had the run game like under control. They went 20 rushes against 42 passes. And I actually thought that the defensive backfield, especially when you consider the personnel that they have to trot out there, did a pretty good job. And you've got the pass rush is probably, if you were to look at the personnel only on the Giants defense, like the one spot where they're not totally destroyed, hurt, I know Kayvon's not out there, but it's the pass rush. You still look at Dexter Lawrence as a pass rusher. You look at Brian Burns as a pass rusher, doing really well in the sack category among other sack leaders in the NFL. And Abdul Carter is just like an athletic freak who's getting all these pressures. I don't know why the Lions did just keep running the ball. Like at no point did it feel like the run defense had anything under control, right?
Yeah, no. Like I said, they held them to 4 yards a pop, which feels good for the Giants, but I agree. I don't know. Like the first drive they got after it, they were 4 for 22 on the first drive and they just got away from the pass. And I'll say, I guess we're just kind of talking defense overall. We'll talk about individual defensive performance after this. Like I said, I thought Shane Bowen, for the personnel he had, called a fairly solid game plan, right? Like they did a good job containing Jameson Williams. Hell, good job. He had 0 catches for 0 yards, right? Cordell Flott, awesome job. They lived out of zone coverage, right? So they knew, as much as the Giants like to run man coverage, that if they ran man coverage in this game, the Lions were going to torch them, right? They were going to run the ball, play action off of it, and torch them. And they lived in zone coverages, and that, Jameson Williams, 0 catches, 0 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown got them, right? He had 9 for 149 yards and a touchdown, and he had a couple of drops. So, like, he was able to consistently find the zone and win, but Goff wasn't consistently, finding the right guy and winning, right? He was throwing to the middle of the field where guys were covered. He was sacked 3 times, twice by Darius Alexander, once by Nacho. Where again, like they had Amon-Ra had a great game. Nobody really had a receiving game outside of that. Besides Gibbs, they checked the ball down to Gibbs 11. Gibbs had 11 catches in this. Who had him in fantasy this week, by the way? Danny?
Yes, Danny.
Yeah, I think he might have won the league this year because of that.
Yeah, really.
So it was just like they knew that they weren't just. There was nobody in the world who thought this Giants defense, no matter who coached them, that whether it was Bill Belichick, that they were going to just stop the Lions. But I thought they held them off fairly well, and then especially with the Giants' offensive performance. And then just the fourth quarter, they did what they always do in the fourth quarter, which is blow those leads.
We saw our first Darius Alexander sack in this game.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about defensive individual performance right now. What did you think about the going? So the Giants had a 13-play, 86-yard drive. They go for it on 4th down. What did you think about that sequence?
So you're down at the 4-yard line to start that drive. You run Tyrone Tracy and you get 2 yards. Now it's 2nd down. You're looking at the clock, and I think you're under 4 minutes at this point. To me, this is a no-brainer. This is where you stop being cute. And I know we'll talk about the trick plays and whatever in this game, but this is now brass tacks. Everything is in the middle of the table. You just stop being cute here, and you run the ball with your power back. Because if you have a 4-down mentality here, my thought process is to bleed as much clock as possible. Because your thought process at this point is, if it's 4th down and we don't get it, well, hell, we just put them in a scenario where they have to start their drive at the 2-yard line. And I can get behind that thinking. I'm not here to lambaste Mike Kafka for that decision. two things you have to keep in mind. If you have that 4-down mentality, I know you said Jake Bates, 59-yard field goal. That's his career high. That's his career high in the NFL. Do you know what landed him an NFL contract? Back-to-back 64-yard kicks. One where he was iced and one where he did it again.
Yeah, he's been amazing for them. It's not like it was a surprise that he hit that 59-yarder.
Absolutely not. Now, again, I was sitting there like, oh my God, he's going to miss. But he did hook it in there at the very end and not by too much. But you have to factor that in there. You know, if you're going for 4, that you are not cutting their drive to be like a 98-yard drive at that point. Their drive only has to get them, close to midfield. So when you factor all that in, my mentality is the clock is their enemy at that point, because if you're going to cut the field in half, then you have to blow the clock down as low as you can. And they throw 2 passes on it. And again, like, I know that Jameis played a great game, and this is nothing against Jameis throwing for over 300 yards. I think they said mid-game that was the highest passer rating, the first quarterback to throw for 300 yards against the Lions this year, I think is what they said. Nothing against him, but he is your backup quarterback, and you're missing your number 1 wide receiver. In this game situation, I'm just putting Devin Singletary in, and I'm power running from the 2-yard line 3 times. At that point, it comes down to either we score the touchdown here or they have to drive 99 yards. Like, you just have to have that mentality in my opinion. And, easy for me to say, I'm not the guy who drew up 3 trick plays that all worked in this game, but I don't know. I just feel like this didn't have to be algebraic thinking. I thought this could have been very straightforward.
Yeah, so I don't want to judge it in hindsight because it didn't work. I like going for it on 4th down there before I talk about the plays prior, because, you look at what the lines are, and it's like, you kick the field goal, and, like, there's a very good chance they go and score. Right. And as an interim head coach, and let's just lean on aggression and try and close the game out. I do think when you had the negative 4-yard run on 3rd down, that might have changed the picture, because now you're, 4th and goal to 6 is unlikely you're unlikely to find success on that play. Where 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 is a very different story, right? Where now you can pound it in and run it. Can you hear me, by the way? My computer froze on me for a second.
Yeah, mine froze too. I can hear you. You're good now. I hear you fine.
Okay. All right. Let me check the chat. I don't really look at the chat during podcasts, but so
I hear what you're saying, but that's why you don't throw it on 2nd down, is basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you're going on 4th down, just try and pound it in. And I know that's always easier to go back and say, but plus you run, either force them to call a timeout, you run time off the clock, even if it doesn't work, or you just get it in and end the game, right? But I do think them having negative 4 yards could have changed it a little bit. And like you said, they end up stopping the clock and go for it. So I was okay with going for it. It's not like part of who I am of you got to go for it there. But I actually was okay going for it in this scenario. Where going back 2 weeks ago against the Chicago Bears and the decision that maybe had a part in Brian Dale being fired, I was very anti-go for it. I didn't care where it was. Kick the damn field goal. You haven't been able to do anything with Russell Wilson at quarterback. Let's talk about let's move on to the offense, though. Let's just talk about the offense, because I thought this was a phenomenal game plan by Mike Kafka and Jameis Winston. So here's what I like is they are trying to establish an identity of we're going to run the damn ball at you, right? And they did play action off of it a lot in this game. It started off great. The second half, the play action didn't have as much success. But they ran 39 times for 122 yards, which is 3.1 yards per carry, and certainly not good. And I was charting it all game long. From the shotgun, they are 14 of 48. Under center, 22 of 63. Their success rate was 15 of 36, 41.6%. Not good. But I will say this. They, the 1st down run, 2nd down run, 3rd down pass. I just charted when they ran the ball on 1st and 2nd down throughout the game as well, Grump. They got 1st downs 8 out of 11 times when they ran the ball on both 1st and 2nd down. So it worked, right? Even if, a 2nd and 7 run turns to 3rd and 4, that's quote unquote not a successful run. but they were able to get a quick pass or whatever on that third down. They even run it for some first downs on third down as well too. So I like that they're just sticking to it, right? And it got better as the game went along as well too, similar to last week, right? Mike Kafka is letting us know, hey, we want to be a team that runs the ball, especially with Jameis Winston at quarterback, right? We want to limit the ability, the amount of mistakes that he can make, right? He, threw 2 interceptions in this game. Didn't have any other dropped interceptions, but sure had some plays that scared the crap out of you. And, they worked play action off of it, right? And it worked a lot. They had 200 yards off play action, so it did work. The first half, they had like 150 off play action. But it just was not enough with the defensive effort on the Lions side.
I thought it was a great game plan. And I know that they are, everything you said is absolutely true. They are establishing the run. They're not giving up on it. They are ending at about 50-50 in these 2 games that they've had under Mike Kafka. So we'll see if that continues with Jackson Dart, if and when we see him again. And if it stays the same, if it's under center, Jackson Dart didn't have a whole lot of under center experience coming into the NFL. Brian Dable didn't really force it on him. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it was kind of an odd running game. It's like, I feel like it balanced out between chunk runs and, very little, loss of 1, 0, gain 3, loss of 1, 0, gain 3, 12 yards, and that was kind of where they were like getting their average up.
It's not a good run game overall. Like
Yeah.
I think it's very, like last week, I wasn't sitting here arguing that was some great run game, but they didn't have they had some negatives in this game, unlike last week, but that's inevitable when you run the ball 39 times in a game.
And you're playing a better defense.
That too, right? A better run defense overall. But you're not getting, like, they weren't getting very many negatives, right? There was, again, like I said, more 0-yard runs, 1-yard runs, and a couple -2, negative ones. But they just were never putting themselves like fully behind the sticks. And I think they're just kind of like, this is the way we want to play. And they haven't had the explosives off of it, right? You would think that they would be able to pop a couple explosives, but the Lions got extremely aggressive in this game. And again, they got those play action passes off of it. We'll talk about Wan'Dale Robinson and his performance, but you had play action crossers to him, to Slayton, from throws to Theo Johnson. And then the trick plays were, I'm anti-trick play guy. I think I'm making exceptions for interim head coaches as well as Ben. My exceptions for trick plays are Ben Johnson and interim head coaches. So the flea flicker touchdown, I mean, that was beautiful. Wan'Dale sets it up wonderfully, right? Sets that safety up, toss to Singletary, throws back to Jameis, touchdown. The Gunnar Olszewski touchdown to Jameis Winston, that might be the most exciting play I've ever seen in my life. One, it took so long, right? I need to go back and, while you're talking, I might go and count how long that play took. But you do the reverse to Gunnar Olszewski. He doesn't just throw it. He runs up through the pocket, finds Jameis on a back shoulder throw. Jameis makes his back shoulder catch, and then just refuses to go down from Derek Barnes, who's a pretty good linebacker, who I think needs to retire after that, and just wills his way into the end zone. It was the craziest play I've ever seen in my entire life. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that it ended in 6. Like I said, it was not just the first one, nice, clean, crisp trick play. Jameis guns it in there, Wan'Dale wide open touchdown. But that one, dude, was in slow motion.
Yeah, I mean, you're not kidding. I am not really a big trick play guy because it looks ugly and it wins ugly. You know what I mean? You're not really super proud of yourself overall as a team when your trick play works. When it's in the context of everything else is working well, then, you don't care. But when you're a bad team with a losing record playing a good team and it's the only way you can stay alive, yeah, you scored, you're in the game, and you're happy about it, but your team sucks, and it's just the trick that worked. And then when it fails, it just looks like a goddamn disaster. So I'm a pretty big, don't really do trick plays kind of guy either. And what's interesting is that the main reason why is it often involves a non-quarterback throwing the ball. And in both of these scenarios, I think both passers in Devin Singletary, who I think technically laterals, right? Has to throw across the field. And like, that was a difficult throw. And the timing of that was like by a fraction of a second. So yeah, okay, the first trick play worked exactly as designed. You're talking about in terms of the trick working and Wan'Dale Robinson not having a guy within 10 yards of him. Overall, it kind of took like an exemplary performance from Devin Singletary to get the ball back to Jameis, who had to immediately get rid of the ball in order to avoid getting hit. And then the Gunnar Olszewski one, the whole thing was a disaster. That play looked like an absolute failure. He steps up in the pocket like an experienced quarterback and throws a ball that Jameis adjusts to. A quarterback adjusts to a throw in coverage, makes the catch, and then like slips a tackle. He could have easily, as a quarterback, and everyone would have accepted it and been perfectly happy to not even just like not go down, but just like go out of bounds. Right? Like you would have been perfectly happy with that, happily cutting up the thing and putting it on Twitter, just fine with that. But he, not only does he slip the tackle, he just like fights out of it for a touchdown. Like, what the hell was that? So, I mean, it was insane because I actually thought the trick plays would be coming our way because our defense is so bad that would be overcommitting to stop the run for Jahmyr Gibbs and we'd have some crazy trick play blow us up in this game. I did not expect not only two trick plays from the Giants that would both work, but that would, go outside the bounds of it just being like a total blow up on the Detroit defense.
Yeah. 13 seconds was the Jameis Winston touchdown catch. Like that play is going to live in my mind for the rest of my life. There's certain, like, what are the trick plays that come to your head over the last 10 years? Like mine is the Daniel Jones catch against the Panthers, right? One-handed go up and get it. The other one would probably be the Odell throw to Saquon against the Panthers after, the Josina interview that day. And obviously I remember all of them because I'm a lunatic, but like that's like one of the 3 trick plays I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah, those two and Andrew Thomas with the touchdown catch.
Yeah, I'm a little biased for that one, but
I remember it. That's mine. So
yeah.
You don't have to be biased.
So other things, dude, Wan'Dale. I mean, career game for Wan'Dale Robinson in this one, right? Like he has the trick play one, operated it well, but like we're not sitting here going like, wow. But after that, he was making some crazy catches. He had 7 catches his total
9.
stats were 9 catches for 156 yards and a touchdown. But when he, in the third quarter with 8 minutes left, he had what was his career high with 146 yards. His 104 receiving yards in the first quarter was the most in any first quarter all season long. And they were nice routes, right? Like that crazy transition on that first out route. Then he had the crosser on the play action. He had that tough catch where Brian Branch, went helmet to helmet, basically on purpose, had another corner route, an out route. Like he just wish he would have kept like that crosser at the end of the half. But outside of that, like it was essentially, and he had the other one that he got knocked out. But like that was a flawless game. And in reality, Jameis had him for another like 25-yarder that he overthrew too.
Yeah, Wan'Dale's been, if there was like a rock steady performer who's been consistent all year, it might be Wan'Dale Robinson. I'd have to like look back on that to really verify it.
I would say like 1,000 yards this year. Like he's at like 780 now.
And I mean, I'm sure the mailbag question is coming for us Tuesday night, right? Like, do you extend Wan'Dale Robinson? Like, is that becoming more and more of a priority free agent? Wan'Dale Robinson had an excellent game. I thought that he was pretty rock steady. I thought that Theo Johnson was.
I thought Wan'Dale was very hydrated.
Well, Wan'Dale by far one of the most hydrated people ever. In this, ever, I don't know. In this game, definitely.
He's not more hydrated than me.
You're not in this game though, so that doesn't count.
But this was my 7th one of the day.
Jeez, oh my God,
that was a lot.
You're peeing in a bottle right now.
I peed in this bottle.
This recap episode is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, 156 yards and a touchdown, no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. With great tasting flavors like strawberry banana and orange mango, Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor sports drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor, choose better. You'll be glad you did, just like Wan'Dale Robinson.
You'll be glad you did. Oh, and a little teaser for the rest of the podcast. We will talk about the Malik Nabers tweet. But Theo Johnson. So this is the you were bringing up Theo Johnson. This is the Theo Johnson curse as someone who probably my favorite day 3 pick of Joe Shane in the moment was Theo Johnson. Not even probably, he was. Actually, Marcus Bowe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But Theo Johnson was,
I would say Kim Scadaboo over it too. But go ahead.
With hindsight, I would say Scadaboo. Hindsight was Scadaboo. In the moment, it was Theo Johnson. This is like the frustrating thing with him because he's got 2 70-yard games in his last 3 games. He had 3 for 36 last week, and he's been targeted. I'm pulling up the numbers. He has his last 3 games. He has 13 catches for 150, about 180 yards, so 60 yards per game. And he's he hasn't had any drops. When he's at his best and quarterbacks are throwing tough throws, he can make he had 3 catches today. Every single one was an awesome catch. It wasn't just he got open versus zone coverage. Every single one, they were all big plays. I mean, he averaged 25 yards per catch in this game. Every single one was a awesome grab.
Yeah, and they were all in big moments too, right? I think all of them were for first downs.
Yeah.
Because they were all far down the field. But I think at least one of them was on third down. But they're all big moments in the drives. Like we were saying, this is the identity of this offense under Mike Kafka is that they're going to establish the run. And the run game wasn't very good in this game. Means that we had a lot of long drives that required third down throws and catches. And big moments all across the board. And it's, I guess the Theo Johnson frustration is that he'll make the tough catches and drop the easy ones.
Yeah.
We've seen, right?
But he hasn't done that in a month, so that's not on my mind. And I'm like, hey, this is the whole issue with the guys who drop passes. They have nice 4-game stretch. You're like, man, this is the guy, right? This is the guy that I like. Not saying he's some top 10 tight end in the NFL, but this is a guy we can work with. And then I say this, and then next week he'll have 2 drops on prime time, and everyone will want him.
Right.
DAD.
I thought Isaiah Hodgins had a similar game in that regard, right?
Crazy.
2 catches on 6 targets doesn't sound great, but the touchdown was phenomenal.
Half of them were throwaways that he didn't get completed. Yeah, the touchdown was that's a hard play to run. The Giants have ran it a couple times this year, and the quarterback throws it out of the back of the end zone. You're like, what's wrong with this quarterback? It's basically where you have a zone coverage and you have 4 guys run into the route, 3 guys stop, right, as all curls, and then you have another guy run to basically the back of the end zone and the cross trying to pull them up in their zone coverages. And this time it worked because Isaiah Hodgins ran a great dig route, and the one player they were trying to get the bite on Wan'Dale Robinson, on Theo Johnson did bite, and Jameis put it in there. It was a great route for Hodgins, and he brings it in for a touchdown, right? I'll do this tweet probably when the podcast is over. In fact, I'm going to write it down right now. I'm pretty sure Isaiah Hodgins is the only non-starter wide receiver from week 1 to have a touchdown for the Giants, and I'm sure he leads them all in yards combined of Lil Jordan Humphrey, Jalen Hyatt, and Ray McLeod, and Bo Collins.
And Gunnar Olszewski.
Gunnar Olszewski is very funny. He had a 24-yard defensive pass interference in this game and a 33-yard passing touchdown, which is 58 yards. Awesome. More contribution than I thought it was going to be. Still not even close to making me lose the bet for his 100-yard receiving yards. So
I almost feel like that's an unfair extra thing that he threw a 33-yard touchdown in this game.
He also, here, I'll say this, Amir Smith-Marset is a better thrower of the football. That would have been an easier touchdown with Smith-Marset. I'm serious. Last year against the Ravens, he was their scout team quarterback, and he threw a touchdown on them. So I'll even say that. So people are like, oh, you underestimated Gunner. Amir Smith-Marset would have thrown a much cleaner football on that one too. So he wouldn't have. I don't think he would have
on that most exciting play.
Yeah, he made it more exciting, but sometimes that's what it is, sometimes you need, Richie Soybird and David Deal to screw up a block and David Tyree to not catch the point at its high point to have, one of the most exciting plays we've ever seen.
Reminiscent play from Jameis in this game, slipping a sack and throwing one downfield. I do not remember the context.
That was that a Theo Johnson grab, or was that the one that got like punted up to No, the one that got like punted up to Isaiah Hodgins was a double move,
right,
where they blitzed the piss out of him. And so I think that was one of those crazy Theo Johnson grabs. That where he just chucked it down there and Theo caught it. I'm pretty
uncharacteristic game from Daniel Bellinger.
Yeah, a couple drops. Another one over the middle of the field, and that one at the end of the game where he landed on the ball,
which I would have given. I'd let slide. It's just one of those things he just doesn't do is drop the ball.
Yeah, he doesn't, and that was, like you said, that's out of character. I'm not going to go. Is there anything else on the offense? It's a shame that Aiden Hutchinson got that sack at the end of the game because they had allowed 0 sacks before that, and Hutchinson was only getting production off of stunts. And Thomas, he avoided Thomas. He went to the right tackle all game. It's kind of embarrassing for these guys who want to be Defensive Player of the Year to avoid Andrew Thomas like that.
Jermaine Illuminor was my backup giant factor for that reason. I already knew it. If Nick Benito was going to avoid that side, I didn't think the Lions were going to take any chances trying to pick a harder matchup. They were just going to put Hutchinson over Illuminor, and he stepped up to the plate, man. I'm almost like I thought Cordell Flott had a pretty good game, so I don't know if we're flipping over to the defense right now. I have no shame of picking him as my giant factor, but I do kind of wish I picked Jermaine because he played outstanding.
Yeah,
in pass protection. There.
Yeah. It's the tackles did a good. Again, they got him on stunts. Like the interior gave up some pass rush in this game. Even that Aiden Hutchinson sack wasn't like he beat Jermaine Illuminor. It was Aleem McNeil just worked Greg Van Roten, and Aiden Hutchinson was able to slide off to the inside and get that. And that was clearly a 4th down. Jameis is just holding on to the ball. They didn't replay and show if anything was open down the field, which was frustrating. I will say, this is my last offensive point. Stop running mess with Jameis Winston. It's the only play he just won't execute. There's just multiple times where they run mesh and he just doesn't throw it. Let's flip over to the defense. We talked a lot about let's talk big picture.
Wait. One last thing. Sorry. One last thing on the offense that just came to mind. The Jameis pick, that's just the Jameis pick, right? There's nothing like supernatural about that one. That's just like our standard, like Jameis does this.
Yeah, it was just a Jameis Winston, and like they play action boot to the right, the outside corner on the right side, kind of saw what was going on, and then
just crept
peeled
up,
off of it, and Jameis just got stuck on it and threw it.
Yeah.
So as much as that's where I get a little bit on the where I'm not going to Shane Bowen boogeyman is like they went 3 and out right after that, like they went like that. The game, I thought the game was over at that point. And then when they didn't score there, I was like, oh my gosh, the Giants might actually win. Defensively, want to start with like overall bad, and then we could talk about individual performance because I thought Flott had a really good game. Drew Phillips had a really good game. The run defense is so terrible, right? They're ranked 31st in the NFL coming into this game. The Lions ran the ball 20 times, which you would have thought, like, why would they do that? Well, they ran it for 237 rushing yards, 11.9 yards per carry. Again, 3 combined runs for 167 yards,
which is 40 more than the entire Giants team.
Yeah, the Giants team that ran the ball 39 times, they had 40 more yards on just 3 different carries. Like the Giants ran the ball twice as much and had, half the yards. And it's every one is different, but like the first 49-yard run, the defensive line, nobody does anything. The linebackers just totally get blocked. And then Javon Holland is flat-footed and he beats him to the corner. Dane Belton chases it down. Then you have another 49-yard run, this time for a touchdown. The defensive lineman, nobody wins their matchup. The linebackers get just flat out destroyed. None of the DBs don't tackle, another touchdown. And then the overtime one, Dex isn't on the field. I would love to just know is it still a touchdown with Dex? But Roy Robertson Harris gets pinned down. Swayze Bozeman is totally lost. Bobby Okereke is not getting downhill. Javon Holland plays his block soft. Belton loses the angle. Like, they're just like, I can't be mad at Shane Bowen for that. I'm sorry. I can't be mad at Shane Bowen. Like, this has been an issue across two coordinators where they can't stop the run, and it's just inevitable. So like I think that they would be able to hold some fourth quarter leads if teams didn't feel like they could find so much success running the ball while down in the fourth quarter, or getting that in general. And then on the back end, I thought Shane Bowen, again, he wasn't Wink Martindale or anything, but like, he was blitzing. They were throwing some disguised looks and led to some success. But there's also like, there was a 3rd and 8 where they line up both linebackers in the middle of the field. They back out, right? Disguised look. And Bobby Okereke should have had an interception, and he doesn't even touch the football. He just runs to a spot and just watches the ball get completed on Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then nothing happens. Like, the linebackers haven't made a single play in coverage all year long. Like, can you remember one play? And I'll even look it up. Like, has a linebacker had an actual pass breakup? The only thing I can think of is when they completed underneath and they rally and pop the ball out that way. But have they actually made one where they had to like turn their shoulders at all?
I don't remember anything. Nothing's coming to mind. But if it was probably Flanagan Fowles.
Oh my God. They went through 3 linebacker twos in this game, by the way.
Yeah. I know, we'll sit here and scream about Shane Bowen and Joe Shane. And it's, why not both old El Paso girl .gif, right? Like, it's both. The soft zone, the conservative mindset in crunch time situations from Shane Bowen is inexcusable. And then, like, all the chutzpah that there is to his defense seems to be reactive. It's not who he is. It's what he's being dictated to do. And therefore it's the personnel stepping up in those play calls and making plays. It's not like in the fabric of Shane Bowen. And then on the flip side, the run, the inability to stop the run has been a problem with this Swiss cheese for, over 2 coordinators at this point.
Well, we knew it going into the year.
And that's a roster problem, right? So it's why not both .gif. On the
so there's like surprise of how bad this defense is, right? I don't think even the most negative person in the world thought they were going to be ranked 29th. They might even drop a ranking after this week. But this was the talking point going into the season. It's like, man, the pass rush is nice. I know they added improvement in the secondary. They didn't turn it into a great secondary, but they did improve. But this run defense can make it all for naught. And I think that's been a part of the issue. And some of these fourth quarter collapses have been teams that's continued to run the ball despite being down by 10 points. I looked it up. Forced incompletions, so not even pass breakups. The linebackers on the season have 2. Bobby Okereke has 2. Nobody else has. So congratulations, Bobby Okereke.
And this could have been even more embarrassing. Like, we're sitting here complaining about this in the context of going to overtime with a team they have no business competing against and whatever. But the reality is, I don't know why the Lions only ran the ball 20 times. 20 times for 237 yards. I'll run it 42 times and throw it 20 times at that point. We couldn't stop it. Just couldn't stop it.
If you would have told me that Corey Black, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, Zaire Barnes, and Swayze Bozeman would all be playing significant reps, and you said the Lions scored 27 points in regulation, I'm like, okay, that gives me a chance. That gives me more of a chance than what I probably would have thought going into the game.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I understand also that you're looking at a defensive backfield that doesn't have its number 1 or number 2 corner or its number 2 safety, and you're salivating at that. And, oh man, their linebackers aren't very good in coverage and they're hurt there. So, we're the Lions and you have Jahmyr Gibbs, end of story. I mean, that's a win button right there. Just hand the ball off to him. And then just in case that doesn't work, don't worry. You have like 8 other weapons on your offense and a quarterback that's playing well. So I just don't understand any of that. So, but I thought the defensive backfield actually played a pretty good game considering. I thought that, Jared Goff is one to hurry throws, had an intentional grounding in this game.
Yeah.
To me, I've never been a big Jared Goff guy. I thought that Sean McVay and Ben Johnson were able to get more out of him than I thought possible. But I think overall I was just wrong on I think he's just better than I thought he was. But one thing that I do feel strongly about is that he's a panicker. And when things are breaking down, he knows the limitations of his athleticism. He's not really running away from a free rusher or anything like that. If he's not going to break the tackle to survive long enough to throw it away, he's throwing it away immediately. And in that case, like sometimes he knows something is going to be open, but he's got to guess a lot more as to where that window is and the timing of it. And, I think that's a lot of what helped the secondary. Javon Holland got his first pick in this game. Generally a lack of production safety throughout his career. Little late getting it now, but I thought the defensive backfield played pretty well. It's just the run defense that really truly let them down pretty consistently throughout this game.
Yeah, I mean, they played a lot of zones. So, like, the one thing the Lions were able to find in the passing game was Amon-Ra St. Brown, and him and Goff were on the same page. Like, and he had 150 yards, should have had more. But, if there's 3 pats on the back today for defensive players, it's Cordell Flott, Andrew Phillips, and Darius Alexander to me. Andrew Phillips had 3 tackles at the line of scrimmage on checkdowns to Jahmyr Gibbs. The one, I said it, I think, earlier in the show. The one where Jahmyr Gibbs was bobbling it, I let out a fucking pop his fucking ass. Like, I wanted him to kill him. And then he had tackled another one, right? Because he's missed those tackles before. So I thought that was good. I don't remember him having like any issues in coverage either. And Flott held Jameson Williams to 0 yards, like 0 catches, 0 yards. And there was some blitz, like go to Jameson plays in this game too.
Oh, yeah. I think Cordell Flott, that's my giant factor right there, absolutely stepped up to the test. I thought he played a fantastic game. Coming back from injury, too, he's clearly going to be drawing what they want drawn up, other than, whatever's lined up in the slot. Darius Alexander got his first sack in this game. I'm not really sure where else he stood out to you specifically in this game. I don't know if anybody really had like a good game run defense wise. Did he have any other pressures outside of the sack that he got? I mean, big time sack. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I'm just
Nacho.
No. Darius Alexander.
Let me look. I always screen record some of these pass rushing stats. Let's see. He had 2 sacks and 1 pressure.
Oh shit!
30 pass rushing snaps. So he did good. Carter had some plays, but again, I think we're at a point now where Carter getting quarterback hits and pressures is just not impressing anybody until he finally closes the deal. He did have that nice quarterback. One of those incomplete passes at the end of the 4th quarter was a great pass rush where he hit Goff.
I think that first Darius Alexander sack, if Alexander doesn't make it, Carter was right there.
Yeah,
that counts for nothing at all. But
kind of took my advice on the mailbag pod, Grump. He did say, I said, start working the corner. You're going to help other guys. You're going to get wins eventually. And he did do that in this game. So he worked the corner.
Well, I mean, he's a good friend of yours. So listening to the show makes sense.
Yeah, he's, I'm basically the outside linebacker coach. What else? I want to get to Malik Nabers' tweet. I do want to do a little segment on special teams. The other thing, it was just, again, the defense was crucial plays. The 3 big runs. We didn't even mention the 3rd and goal from the 11, where they gave up the Amon-Ra screen touch. I just felt like nobody wanted to make a play on that.
Yes,
so no one wanted to be out of place on that, which I get with the issues with Giants defense has had. But Corey Black, just make the damn tackle, and we're not talking about it. And then,
that's one of those plays where you just want a football player to be a football player instead of thinking, just play at 100 miles an hour. It's 3rd and 11.
Yeah, that's a 4-point swing right there. The 3 big runs, that's 21 points right there. And then they got 3 points at the end of the first half, where Shane Bowen did call like the perfect defense for that. Like for they ran verticals. So he ran zone coverage, but if they ran verticals, Nick Jones has to take it in man coverage. And he just doesn't, right? Like it's end of the half. You kind of have to be like, all right, even if I'm late to the flat, I just have to make sure I don't get beat vertically. And he just lets them beat him vertically. And we blame Shane Bowen for that, but that's totally Nick Jones's fault. So anything else on the defense? Good job on Darius Alexander, Cordell Flott, Drew Phillips. Holland did have an interception, but that was a Amon-Ra block. And I'm probably more pissed off at Holland. I thought he played the run soft, and that stupid ass penalty to delay a game. You know what?
That's dumb.
That's really dumb. right in front of the referee. You know they're going to see that crap. So, anything else?
No, I didn't have anything else on that. Special teams wise, nice that Younghoe Koo had it. I didn't even know who was kicking this game. I wasn't really thinking about it.
He had a tackle.
That's true. He did have a tackle. I mean, if you want to call that a tackle, it's a good kicker tackle, throwing your body at somebody.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to. I saved the photo, so I want to pull it up. So here's the thing. We talked about it on the preview podcast or the live stream this morning, Grump. We're like, you know what? No one really cares about this, but it's kind of insane that Amir Smith-Marset is not on the team while Jalen Hyatt takes up a spot to get. He doesn't play receiver anymore. He's not going to play receiver. They put Gunnar Olszewski over him again, right? So they have no use for him, and he doesn't return kicks. And they put Eric Gray at kick returner, who musts the kick, right? And it's like, why can't you just put Amir Smith-Marset on this team over these guys? Like, why must we make it this difficult? Why? Because, this guy can actually help you as a returner, maybe flip the field special teams wise. Instead, you just have Eric Gray doing it to try and justify him being on the team, I guess, when you bring him back. And Hyatt doesn't do anything. Like him being on the team is actively a negative.
I would agree. I mean, I don't have a problem with Gray being elevated and moved off of the
running back 3, fine by me. But
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, at this point, we're talking about a straight up roster spot for roster spot. Number one, you have an open roster spot. You don't need to flip anything. Number two, Jalen Hyatt is a negative. He plays 0 special teams. He does nothing on offense. So why is he here? If he has to go in for Gunnar Olszewski, I'm going to repeat that. If he has to go in for Gunnar Olszewski at any point, it's a drop off. Because if Gunnar can't play, that means he's not returning stuff, which Jalen Hyatt doesn't do anyway. So you might as well have Smith-Marset and Gunnar Olszewski back on kickoff returns. You run Gunnar on your punt returns because you're more comfortable with him. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. I think they're both pretty good. And then if Gunnar Olszewski, who I guess is your preferred guy in offense to be the guy who steps up, if he gets hurt, whatever, then you can put Amir Smith-Marset out there, who apparently offers you more than Jalen Hyatt. And I think that he does.
Yeah,
because
I think he's a better
actually goes to the spot where he belongs, and he can catch the ball when it's in his hands. He's not just a one-trick pony. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. It's a pain in the ass.
All right, so let's do this. I tried figuring out a way to put it on the screen, but I'm just going to have to share my screen. So sharing my screen. This is Malik Nabers. He deleted this tweet. He said, sometimes I think they'd be making us lose on purpose because it's no way. Bro, you throw the ball instead of running it to make them burn 2 timeouts. Hey, agreed with us a little bit. Then you don't kick the field goal. Then they have to go down and score. Football common sense. Am I missing something? This isn't the only time he's complained about like play calling and stuff in game while injured. What do you think of this?
In terms of right now in this moment, or a player doing this generally?
I don't know.
I have
so many mixed emotions.
All right, let me put this into the context of Malik Nabers is not on IR, right? And obviously this would be a violation
on IR.
On league rules if he were not on IR. If he were like an active part of the roster, he wouldn't be allowed to do this within whatever time frame of the locker room. But let's just say he did it after, and he's on the active roster. This is a discipline moment. This is a moment where, Malik Nabers doesn't start a series for whatever, or Malik Nabers behind closed doors gets fined by the head coach. This is a moment where I have no patience for this if I'm to put myself in the position of management for this team. This doesn't help anybody. If you have these opinions so strongly that something is broken with your coaching staff, then keep that in-house. I'm not big on this, I understand the purpose of Twitter and I'm not here to police the lives of young guys, but this is also professional. This is a professional moment. This is your job. If you work any no, I'm not going to go that route, but it doesn't matter. I don't see how this helps anything, putting it on social media, other than maybe in the moment it helps you vent some frustration, which, you're a professional athlete. You have to be a professional. You just, you vent this to your close buddies via text, or you have a phone call or whatever, and you just get it off your chest, or maybe you just punch a hole in the wall. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't like this. And if he were on the team, I would definitely punish him. He's on the team. He's on IR, so he's able to tweet this without, league punishment for whatever that rule is and what it's supposed to do. I would consider a fine here. You have to stop this kind of shit. This kind of stuff is what going unpunished, in my opinion. And I know that this happens. You can pull examples across the history of the NFL over the last 20 years and the existence of social media of these things happening, it not going punished because X, Y, and Z star did it, and then nothing happened. And that's fine, and I get it. But there's a different culture here right now. The culture is we lose. And these are the young guys that need to be bought into the Jackson Dart, Cam Scadaboo kind of energy of like, I'm not going to be a part of this. I need to be like, I need to make something happen. So this kind of thing has to stop if you want to change that losing culture. That's my take on it. I don't know if anything's going to happen. I don't think we'll find out if anything happens, whether it's like held internal because he is on IR. There's no way to punish him in a way that's public and knowable. But I do think that this is kind of a moment you have to get this kind of energy out of the locker room.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. Obviously, this coaching staff is not going to be the one to deal with it because he is on IR and they're not going to be around next year. But it's like I don't know what the solution is because just they've told him to not tweet. So like he's not listening. At the end of the day, I'm sure this feeling is felt by others. So it's not like he's leaking out to others. He's not in the locker room really for the most part. So like that's a part of it. So it's like I don't know. It's like I think it's something you deal with. Like if you want to have great players, you're gonna have to just deal with this type of shit sometimes. But if I'm trying to think of like how I would try and solve, I would almost like want to deal with it like through the media, right? Because I think talking to him privately is just like, all right, whatever. Like you could say something, Monday, like instead of just, sweeping on the rug and doing everything behind closed doors, but like, yeah, I wish Malik wouldn't tweet that. Sure, that surely doesn't help. And I promise him that I'm not trying to lose on purpose. And I'd appreciate if he never, ever questioned if I'm trying to lose on purpose again. I think you could do types of stuff like that, but I think it's one of those things we'll kind of forget. My thing is like when you are back at practice, and I don't want to hear crap about how you're not putting in full effort in practice and people
or that your toe hurts and then you have like a high school elbow injury and then like sort of like a back thing one day. I think that's a lot of Brian Daboll letting that slide. And yeah. I don't think otherwise we'd know about that. But because that happened, I question all of those things.
Accountability is going to become a huge thing, talking point for the Giants with their next head coach, right? We're going to hear it all offseason, accountability. It's going to be a huge thing. We'll see if that head coach ends up being good and accountability works. But that's what my thing would be is like, all right, I'm not going to complain about you talking or whatever, but you better be bringing it every day in practice.
Right.
So, so don't hide when you have your own issues. But I think this is just part of dealing with having some great players. You can't.
I think a lot of teams have this issue.
Yeah. Again, it's if you want a wide receiver one, sometimes you got to deal with this stuff. But this is stupid. If this was year one of a new head coach, I'd probably be really pissed off about it. But I think the fact that none of these coaches are going to be here, it's not really like triggering any type of like anger in my brain.
Yeah.
All right. Happy birthday, Grump. Go enjoy it.
Thank you.
So schedule for the week real quick. Wednesday is a mailbag. And then we're gonna put something out Friday, preview pod. I guess it's the same. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And happy birthday, Grump.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. See you guys on Wednesday.
Quick percentage. Do you think Shane Bowen will be fired tomorrow?
No. Percentage, I'm going to say 22.5%.
I'm going to go clean 23% for Michael Jordan. All right. That's an episode. We'll see you guys when we see you. Breaking Big Blue with Jordan run on tomorrow. Until then, let's go Big